Said President Obama's healthcare summit was a success and that healthcare should not be a privilege. The man who wants to take his seat in the Senate is Danny Tarkanian, running for the Republican nomination to take that Senate seat in Nevada. He joins the company now. Danny, I understand that you, the last poll I saw, you were at least 6 points ahead of Senator Reid when you were matched up against him. Is that the latest poll? That's what you say?
No, actually, the latest one had me ahead by 11, and that came out 2 days ago.
I'm very sorry, Danny.
That's okay. The last 5 polls have been in double digits or 8%. It's been absolutely amazing.
I just want to ask you something which has been troubling me about the Republicans, and that is, how would you rein in Medicare, the entitlement program? I mean, that's what everybody wants to do, and I've not heard a Republican plan as to how you do it. If elected to the Senate, what would you do?
Well, you can't rein in Medicare with reduce the benefits that are being provided to people that have been paying in for the whole lifetime for it. You know, what are we going to do? Make people pay for Medicare and then take it away from them after we promised them their whole lives?
But yeah, but I see the point. But what's the rein in? How do you rein it in? I'm sorry to interrupt you. I know we've got a time delay here, but I got to know, how would you rein it in? Because it's breaking the bank at the moment.
Well, what you need to do is eliminate the fraud, waste, and abuse that's in Medicare and Medicaid right now. You know, the Government Accountability Office estimated that of the $1.1 trillion that was spent in government health care in 2007, 10% was fraud, waste, and abuse. That's $110 billion that you can eliminate if you just do a better job of running the programs. You can't take away benefits that have been guaranteed to people, though it's not fair to the people who have paid into those programs.
Okay. Mr. Tarkanian, we have an email from one of your potential future constituents. I wonder if you support what this emailer says. I'll read it to you. It's from Pete, and it's in Henderson. He is in Henderson, Nevada. I support Jim Bunning. The Democrats passed pay-go legislation, and now they try to ram a bill through violating pay-go. Go Jim Bunning. Don't let the news media demonize you. What's your response to that, Mr. Tarkanian?
Well, if you're talking about passing bills that you have to be able to reduce the cost somewhere else to pay for any new program, I'm absolutely in favor of it. But there's more that has to be done than just breaking even at this point. We have to cut the programs and cut some of the federal spending that's already out there. We can't just have a break-even point. We have a $14 trillion deficit right now.
Okay, we take your point, but I've got to go back to Medicare. You eliminate waste and fraud. If we can do that, and we've said we're going to do it for decades, we never do. If we did it and took out that $110 billion, you'd still have runaway, out-of-control cost of Medicare.
Well, the cost of it, and also the fact that we used the money that was paid into that system for programs that it was never entitled to be spent for. We should have saved that money for the people who paid into the program and provided those payments to them, just like a Social Security situation. We have over $50 trillion in unfunded mandates that we're going to have to account for at some point. Is there a right to take it away from people that have paid in for it and been promised it their whole lives?
Well, the consensus that we're hearing, I understand the moral point. Is it right to take away from people who've paid into something forever? But when you're faced with potential...
And been promised it.
And indeed, you're right. They've been promised. That's true. But when you're faced with bankruptcy, and the Medicare system is faced with bankruptcy, do you not think it's time to just think about, for example, means testing Medicare? And or introducing co-pays, so every time you go to a doctor, you've got to pay a little something. You ever consider that?
Yeah, I am all in favor of co-pay because I think it'll then make people consider actually having to go in and get medical treatment when they don't necessarily need it. Sure, there'd be an extra cost to it, but I'm not in favor of a means test because people that have paid into it are entitled to it. They paid for it. You know, we have all these federal programs that are out there that aren't necessary. The federal government shouldn't be involved in. Let's go back to cutting the programs the federal government isn't supposed to be involved in, letting the states and the localities be responsible for those programs. Department of Education, for one, where the localities should be making those decisions, not the federal government. We make promises to people who pay in for Medicare. You got to fulfill those promises, or you don't have a reliable government if you don't.
Mr. Tarkanian, you just stepped on the third rail of American politics. You stepped right on it, but we appreciate you doing it. Well, with an 11-point lead in the polls, you can do that. Danny Tarkanian, Republican contender. Thanks for joining us, sir.